Trump is under fire for essentially caving to Vladimir Putin once again. Surprise, surprise. Trump has been saying for a long time now that if he were to be reelected, that the Ukraine Trump is under fire for backing down against Putin in the Ukraine-Russia peace talks. Surprise, surprise. Trump campaigned on being able to end the Ukraine-Russian war in 24 hours if he was reelected, and has said time and time again that if he had won the 2020 election, which he constantly, still to this day, erroneously states that he did win, but he didn't. But if he says that if he retained the presidency, that the war would have never started in the first place. But if you don't worry, if I'm to be reelected, it'll all be over in 24 hours. He got reelected, didn't end the war in 24 hours, and then sort of walked back that statement saying, oh, well, I was kind of just kidding when I said that. It was said, I forget exactly the words he used. He basically said, I was being hyperbolic when I said that I could end the war in 24 hours. And now what we're seeing is that Trump's negotiation strategy here seems to be to demand everything from Ukraine and demand that Ukraine gives Russia everything it wants, while Russia gives up absolutely nothing in return. That's what Donald Trump, that's how he wants this war to end, right? Ukraine, you go along with all of Russia's demands, and Russia, you get your way each and every time. We're going to look at an article here. Before we do, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot with the algorithm. We'll head on over here to Mediaite. Trump under fire for caving to Putin in Ukraine-Russia ceasefire talks. Trump announced on Monday that Ukraine and Russia would start peace negotiations immediately, but what was meant to be a celebratory announcement landed with a thud, as observers quickly pointed out that Putin appeared to only be strengthened in his position. The Wall Street Journal chief foreign affairs correspondent Yaroslav Trofimov summed up Trump's announcement, writing, Trump, after Ukraine agreed to his demand for an unconditional ceasefire and Russia did not, says it's all fine and let's do it the way Putin wants it to be. Trump released his statement after a lengthy phone call with Putin. He posted, the conditions for what will be negotiated between the two parties as it can only be because they know details of a negotiation that nobody else could be aware of. The tone and spirit of the conversation was excellent. If it wasn't, I wouldn't say so now. I would say so now rather than later. Russia wants to do large-scale trade with the United States when this catastrophic bloodbath is over, and I agree. There's a tremendous opportunity for Russia to create massive amounts of job and wealth. Its potential is unlimited. So basically, we're watching Putin play Trump in real time here, because Ukraine's already agreed to a full ceasefire. They've agreed to it. Russia will not. And Russia will continue to increase its maximalist position because it knows that the United States of America is headed by a guy that is a total Putin simp. And for some reason, it could be there's some sort of dirty crumpinant on Trump that the Russians have. That's long been speculated. You know, he had his Miss America, whatever, pageant that was held in Moscow, I think in 2006 or something, where it's long been rumored that some very disgusting crumpinant may have been obtained against Donald Trump, and that perhaps Donald Trump doesn't want the world to see that, or it's just that Trump looks up to Putin because of some other reason, this strongman image that Putin projects. Whatever it is, Ukraine's position in this conflict was significantly weakened on November 4th when Trump won re-election. And what we have here is Trump saying, okay, Ukraine, you have to give in to all of Russia's demands, or we're just going to back away from the talks. There's no peace talks. Not going to try to stop the war anymore. If Putin doesn't want to agree, then he doesn't have to agree. That's not being an honest broker of a peace deal. That is pushing Ukraine to give up its position and weakens Ukraine's position, right? Again, Ukraine, they've already agreed to the ceasefire, and if we had a president that was actually honest about trying to end this war, what we would see is Trump saying, if Russia doesn't agree to the ceasefire within a certain time frame, we are going to sanction the living hell out of them. We are going to make it economically impossible for Russia to continue this war. Not say, oh, but we can do trade with Russia when this is all over. America is open for business. What about all the war crimes? What about all the innocent civilians that have been targeted by Putin? What about all the mass graves in Bucha? What about all the mass rape and the mass pillaging, complete cultural removal and targeting of non-military targets? What about all that? What about bringing Putin to responsibility for his crimes against humanity? We don't hear much of that from Trump whatsoever. And what we do hear from Trump on a regular basis is him demeaning, embarrassing the president of Ukraine, basically demanding him to be a lapdog face to face in what was one of the most embarrassing moments for our country in terms of foreign policy for a long, long time, probably since Bush lied through his teeth and told people that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. This guy, Trump is he gives favor to Putin. It's as clear as day. Anybody that is looking at this situation and going, waiting on the edge of their seat to see what's going to happen next in the negotiations, or see if Trump is going to suddenly start being harsh on Putin and actually want Putin to end the war by threatening anything that would sort of push Putin to actually want to end the war. I don't think Trump has that ability whatsoever. But he's going to pretend like he has that ability. And B, Trump is doing the opposite of what a strong American leader such as Joe Biden is doing. And he is, again, in fact, strengthening Russia's position and is essentially giving them an out to get off scot-free for all the war crimes that they have committed. It's absolutely disgraceful. And again, it's clear as day where Trump stands on this conflict, and he can say whatever he wants. He says this so much. He goes, it's terrible. People are dying. 5,000 troops a week are dying. Young men, death. We want to end the death. Just end the death, right? But the thing is that if Russia feels that it made gains, or it had any sort of, we're better off than we're better off now than we were before, then any sort of ceasefire that ultimately gives large amounts of land to Russia, or a ceasefire that doesn't allow Ukraine to become a part of NATO, is non-tenable, because ultimately Russia will retool their army, they'll lick their wounds for X amount of years, and this may be well past Donald Trump's days in office, where we just see Russia attack again, right? Because that's what they did in the past, and they totally blatantly violated the Minsk agreements in 2014, which was already a ceasefire was already in place, that was already violated by Putin. So there's no reason to think he wouldn't do it again. And this is why any peace deal must absolutely not allow Ukraine to be excluded from NATO, because that's just going to strengthen Russia's position. Even if they are to agree to a ceasefire, it's not some sort of permanent solution to the conflict, and in fact may embolden Putin to expand his maximalist gains that he wants to make in Europe, perhaps attacking a NATO country, which would, we all know, trigger an Article 5 response from NATO. An attack on one is an attack on all, ultimately triggering a larger conflict in the region based on Trump's lack of strength and his favor that he constantly gives to Putin, which are Russia's the bad guys here. Like this should not be hard. This should not be difficult, right? A lot of times in war, a lot of times in international conflicts, there's a lot of gray area, right? Of who's the good guys, who's the bad guys, right? It's not confusing here whatsoever. It's not confusing whatsoever who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, right? Ukraine are the good guys. Ukraine was needlessly, ruthlessly attacked by a much larger country with a much larger military, simply just for wanting to exist as Ukrainians and have their own democracy and whatnot. That's why they were attacked. And Russia wants to pummel them, not only their military supplies and their government and their infrastructure, but their culture and their history and their identity of being a country that is distinct from Russia. Putin wants to annihilate that. And what Trump's doing here is he is allowing Putin to succeed in that mission. If not today, if not tomorrow, if not a year from now, Putin will continue this war, because again, if he feels like it was worth it, then they'll have a whole nother go at it, right? So that's all I got for you guys in this one. Thanks for watching. Take care.